Okay, so we have a tool, and we have the intent of what we're trying to do with that tool, which is a big lever, and pull it through the water. So now, how do we make that tool work for us most efficiently? Okay, obviously, we want to be able to pull this paddle through the water. Maybe pull my board up here. The other beauty of these inflatable boards is you just stand on them. We have a tool here, and our intent is to take that lever and efficiently pull it through the water. Well, you'll see a lot of people doing strokes like this, or like this. Okay, that if you see, we're not using the lever. We're not using the lever. We're not using the power that we get. The same is true with an outrigger paddle as well. Okay, just to a lesser extent. So the way we set up our stroke is just like an outrigger paddle. A lot of you folks have paddled outriggers, raced canoes, so you've been in the trainer, you know the deal. Okay, it's not any different. We start with the shoulder, we roll it out. The hand is basically just off in front of the face, and the power is off the top arm. You see now we're using that lever right here. Okay, we're efficiently using that lever. Your body is still, so you're not compressing the board, and we're using the lever. Okay, so just like an outrigger stroke, you pull it through the water. You're going to pull back with this arm just a little bit, and you're going to come out to the side. Just like in a stroke on a canoe, we don't want to come further back than the heels. We don't want to do that. Everything is up front, drive, and it's a pull, just like that. You roll and twist. And everybody wants to get a good workout in your core. Everyone hears about the core workout. Well, that's not going to happen unless you do a good, proper stroke. If we're bent over like this, we're not engaging anything in the core. We're just ruining our back. So what we want to do is we want to be in what they call the neutral power stance. These muscles are engaged. Everything is off the top. If you're driving it perfectly, these muscles will always be engaged and really tight. Same with your quads and your back. Everything is balanced. So we want to keep everything just like an outrigger stroke, okay? Paddles that are too short will cause us to hunch over and not get a good stroke. If you find you're with your buddy and gives you a paddle that's too short, then bend your knees and try to hold that and then get your stroke. But what you want is a paddle that's basically about one shock over your head. That's about right. If you think about it, when you're in the water, it's about right there. Okay? So if you put the grip down on the ground in front of you, this might be a little short for me, but you want this right about just below your chin. It'll be perfect. Okay, 6 inches usually calls it. Okay, so we want to have the right length paddle. If the paddle's too long, you're going to have shoulder problems. If the paddle's too short, you're going to have low back problems. So get the right length paddle. It doesn't have to be spot on, but you know what I mean? Get it in the zone.
Does it make a difference what the conditions are if you're going to be surfing rather than flat water paddling in terms of your paddle length?
Paddle length? That's a good question. Not necessarily. I traditionally run a shorter paddle when I'm surfing, only because I'm on boards that are really thin and they're kind of underwater, and I'm going into the wind a little bit. But for racing, I use a paddle that's taller, and it's not because I'm standing taller. It's look at the distance between the water line on this board compared to this board. So you can see it's almost 2 inches. So that would be the reason why I'd go to a longer paddle. Would be mostly for racing. Your feet are side by side. Usually we try to stand right about where most boards now have a handle on them. Your toes are usually going to be right about in line with the back of the handle, or about. And feet are side by side. Look at the horizon. It's real important to look at the horizon. A lot of people look at the board. The reason we don't want to look at the board is because balance actually a subconscious thing that you do. Just standing up right here, she's balancing. Your body's just balancing, okay? If we go ahead and we look at that board and we're looking at what the nose is doing to then go from our eyes to our brain to our muscles, it's not fast enough, okay? You're gonna be like, I don't stop computing. The best is to look at the horizon, relax, let the body adjust itself like it does normally, okay? Subconsciously, it wants to balance. So don't fight it. Don't try to anticipate it. Just let it go. Okay, so that's why whenever I teach, I say the first thing you want to do is don't look at the board, look at the horizon. The horizon is stable. If anybody does yoga, they know that you look ahead, you don't look down, you look ahead to get better balance. Okay, so I'll just go back real quick. You're laying down on the board. You know, if you want to take a couple strokes, you can. I recommend if it's your first time, you should start on your knees, just to feel what the board feels like when it's moving through the water. Then put your paddle down like this, one leg, look at the horizon, and just start paddling. It's going to come natural. You're going to feel the board go to the left and the board go to the right, and you paddle on the right to go right and left to go left, and the whole thing. So it'll come naturally. But let's make sure that our stroke is up front and not hunched over, and we're just tapping with the top arm, just like that. And as you start to add more power, it'll go faster through the water. Okay? I know I'm giving you guys a lot of download here, so I'm just going to lay it all out, and then you guys get in the water and ask me questions. Some people that have been paddling a lot probably say, you know, I paddle some boards and you know, I can paddle 3 times on the right, and it just starts to turn. And then I paddle on the left side and it goes straight the whole time. Well, it's really simple. I get people coming back to the shop saying, something's wrong with this board, it always goes to the right. I said, it's not the board, it's you. And it's really simple. If you're pulling the board, if you're pulling the paddle through the water efficiently and correctly with your top arm right above just off the side of your chin, and you're driving it in the front of the stroke and coming out, you see the path of my blade? Okay? It's straight through the water, okay? A lot of people get really lazy, okay? And so what they do is they take their paddle and they hold their paddle out like this, and they go like this. And they can't figure out why this right side, the board keeps going left. But on the left side, they're fine. But this side, they don't know why it goes. So if you find your board is crabbing on one side, or you just have a hard time, look where your top arm is. It's got to be in front. You want this blade to hit the front and come out here. The other thing is, if you come back too far, this will also cause the board to kick. Okay? So think about that. People they're so stoked. They get on the board and they start paddling. And they're like, this is great. And you're heading up the channel and the wind's at your back and you're like, it's so easy. And you get out to old man's or just inside of it and you go, oh, I better start turning around. You turn around and it's the hardest thing ever. Okay? You're like, you can't stand, you're falling down, you're not making any headway because the wind's in your face. Okay? What do? 2 things. Lay down, paddle it like a surfboard. And the way we do that, 2 ways we can do that. You take your blade and you put it under your chest this way. Okay? And just paddle it in. Trust me, don't try to be a hero. You're going to be in Tahiti in no time. Lay down, paddle it into a zone that you feel comfortable. And the reason why we do it this way, because a lot of people used to think, oh, I'll just lay on it this way. And it's flatter, it's not sticking up. But what happens there is, see what we're doing with this paddle? We're ruining the integrity of this paddle. Next thing you know, you're going to take a stroke and it's just going to break. And you're going to go, how'd that happen? Well, it's because you were laying on like that. So if you ever do paddle, laying down, put it under your chest, that way. The other one is, just go on your knees. Just go on your knees and paddle in. Get your windage down. Another way. Just always be aware when you paddle around here what the wind's doing, because you got to come back. Okay? A little different in Lanikai and Kailua, because then you're fighting it up and you're always going to come home. I've been seeing the reefs, the people. I've been trying to get Don to get a couple boards over here, probably inflatables, because they're safer and more durable. But his big concern is just people on the boards not really paying attention. Obviously, we got a lot of swimmers, kayakers, everything. 101 turning, okay? You're paddling forward. I want to turn. What I do is I stop paddling. Be prepared, because you're going to have to change the aspect of your balance, because it's going to be going backwards. You're going to back paddle, okay? You're going to back paddle 2 or 3 strokes. By back paddling 2 or 3 strokes, the board is actually in probably two strokes. It'll go 90 degrees. You switch sides, take 1 stroke on the other side, and then finish the stroke. It'll go straight. Really easy. That's 101 turning. 2 back, 2 forward, and you're going to be going the other way. A little bit more advanced is you step on the tail. Step on the tail to get the nose up, and you sweep the turn and sweep it around. Okay. The biggest problem that people don't realize when they learn how to do this, what they call a kick turn, is that they put their weight on the back foot. What happens is if your weight's on the back foot and it's turning like this, you're never going to get back up again. You're going to end up falling down. So what you do is you put your weight on your back foot to get the board to start going up, but your shoulders are forward, okay? So now your center of gravity is forward, and the back foot is just pushing the tail down with your center of gravity weight in the forward motion, okay? So the tail goes up, you sweep your turn. Now it's going to be really easy to get here. If you're back here and you do that, you're never going to get back up again. Okay, so that would be more of an advanced turn. For right now, if you're a beginner, just do a back paddle, and spin around.
Catching a wave.
Catching a wave, okay? Catching a wave. First of all, before you go out there into the surf, amongst the surfers and the people out there, make sure you know what you're doing in the surf already. You know the protocol of surfing and dropping in and all that, okay? Remember, you have a bigger board. Well, not really. Well, if you're a beginner, you're going to have a bigger board than most of the surfers out there. But then if you're on a shorter board, you'll understand what's going on anyway. So make sure you're aware of the surfers out there, and make sure that usually I would say, make sure they understand your abilities and you understand yours on how far you push it. If you're just beginning, go to inside tongs, go to pub, go to hotels or something like that, and play around and get to feel it. But yep.
The right side across.
Yep, that's where it reforms. Yeah. Yep, that's a good spot. Watch out for the reef. That's a great spot. Okay, catching a wave. A lot of people, the minute, really, if you're just getting going, when you're out there and you're coming in, a swell hits you, you're going to go, whoa, because it's just going to take the board and push you. So always be in your neutral stance. What happens is when you're catching a wave and you start to get unstable, your first instinct is to lock up, okay? You're going to find when you get out here and you start to get unstable and something hits you wrong, you're going to lock your knees. The worst thing you can do, okay? What I want you to do is, the minute it gets unstable, the first thing you should do is crouch and go down and use the paddle as a brace, but you want to get low. Lower your center of gravity. Don't stretch it out. Let the board roll on your hips. So when you're catching a wave, you're paddling ahead, you're going to turn around, you're going to see the wave coming. Make sure you're not dropping in on anybody. You're going to take a few strokes, and as soon as that wave hits you, it's going to start to really push the board out, so you have to be prepared for it. So what I do tell people is just stagger your stance just a little bit. So if you're a goofy foot or regular foot, just stagger your stance, and that'll give you side to side, but also forward back. So when that wave hits you, you have some support. You catch the wave, obviously, you're going to get back into the surfing stance. Most of our boards have stomp pads on it, so you know where your back foot's got to be, and surf the wave.
Demonstrate that step one more time. I've fallen off 20 times trying to do that little move into the surfing stance.
Yeah, so basically just before the wave comes, I would just put your back foot back, just about maybe 1.5 to a foot, and that'll stabilize you forward and backward so you won't.
And then the next step is how did you get your feet back there?
Back here,
when you're catching the wave.
Just shuffle.
Just keep going.
Just shuffle, cross it.
Yeah.
So you'll get more comfortable moving around on a thing. You don't, a lot of people get on these boards even when you're paddling the flat, and you're just like, I can't move from the stance, I'm nailed in, Loosen it up a little bit. Walk around the board. Move forward and paddle on the board. Move back and paddle on the board. Switch your stance and paddle on the board. Get used. Teach your muscle memory different ways, and it'll make you a better paddler and more stable at whatever gets thrown at you. And remember, this is always your brace. Always brace with this paddle.